fight anymore. Just turn around and leave me.
PlayStation 4 exclusives are a true celebration of the PlayStation 4. They'll make you feel glad that you made the investment, as Sony really solidified its name for brilliant exclusives over the course of the PlayStation 4's life cycle. And now we're nearing the end of that era. We're looking ahead to see what else Sony has in store for us. Demon's Souls, Spider-Man Miles Morales on day one of the PlayStation 5's release, and many more coming a bit later. In this special video, I wanted to take the time and go over through some of the amazing exclusive games, but first I want to clarify that I have removed the games that are considered DLCs, expansions and remasters, but not remakes, since remakes receive much more time and effort with development, and just that would be really unjustified for me to not include. Now, I'm not saying that the expansions or remasters didn't get the effort and time put into them, but I wanted to concentrate on the games that are new IPs, sequels, or perhaps, in some general bigger titles. Now, some of the PlayStation 4 exclusives can be found on a PC after the release months to years later, and as such, I will still be including them as well. Let's get the obvious out of the way. This list will contain of the PlayStation 4 exclusive games that I personally have enjoyed the most. I understand some of the games that you may think deserves a spot here, or perhaps it needs to be higher in this list. So, let's begin.
Just to get in. When I look around me, everything I had when I've been flamed.
Days Gone is a fun game whose main flaw is to be completely lack of originality. It's like a big huge checklist of the zombie survival genre. There really isn't anything here that hasn't been done before. And when you add that of the slightly repetitive nature of missions as well as glitches and bugs, this game is far from perfect. It is, however, a pretty enjoyable ride for anyone who loves zombie survival games and doesn't need anything too original. Combat is thrilling once you start unlocking skills and weapons while still utilizing strategies. The world is well designed, and there's quite a few entertaining characters as well. The story in itself is pretty typical, but it's perfectly serviceable for what it is and can be pretty engrossing at times. It is still a perfectly good game, and if you're looking to mow down hordes of zombies and psychopaths, this game is for you. Final Fantasy VII Remake has delivered a beautiful retelling of the initial parts of the Final Fantasy VII with one of the best soundtracks. The game offers fans of the original a rich experience of their old school favorite, and it provides a newcomers to the Final Fantasy VII, as such as myself, a modern introduction to the game that is widely heralded as an unforgettable classic. While Remake has received criticism for its graphical imperfections and modifications to the original battle mechanics and storytelling, that the overall experience is exciting, immersive and fun, thus earning higher into the list because of the simple fact that I had an absolute blast playing the game. It's obvious a lot of love and dedication went into the recreating the first part of the beloved of the masterpiece, and players will quickly discover how this game demonstrates that a true beauty is an expression of the heart. The Last of Us Part 2 divided some of the fan base on its story, but I challenge anyone who played and enjoyed Part 1 to dive into the Part 2 without any spoilers and form your own opinion after you experience the full context firsthand. It's a powerful game, and it's a hard story to swallow, even for those who love it, so it's definitely going to be painful for those who don't. But I can't emphasize enough, this doesn't make it a broken or a bad story. It makes it complex and deserves to be talked about. This game will challenge your expectations and will challenge your emotions. It will challenge your blind dedication to former experiences. At times it's going to make you do things that are not fun, which can kind of feel wrong of a game to do, but makes the experience that much more powerful in the long haul. From a gameplay, sound design, level design, the atmospheric perspective, and if you like those things in part 1, you love them even more in the part 2. I can easily claim that from the purely gameplay perspective, The Last of Us Part 2 is a superior title. It's an amazing experience. Sometimes that amazement comes in ways that hurt, or feels, for the lack of the better word, wrong. But nevertheless, it continues to impress and sets the bar even higher for whatever impossible task Naughty Dog plans to tackle next. The world that Kojima built here is like nothing else. The amount of technical details and the overwhelming amount of time that the characters spend explaining to you about the world. Kojima's dedication in building his world here is simply outstanding. Don't believe in what you've been hearing about this game not being revolutionary. Its gameplay is really revolutionary. It's a fusion of an ideas only seen in the indie games, and the technical perfectness you only see in huge budget games. You never played something like this before, and I'm afraid you will not play something similar after it. It's not a new genre, but it is a really new approach to the video game's gameplay in general. The ending credits encapsulates everything that makes this game so special. It's like a resume of the feelings. It's sad, melancholic, raw, hard, painful, of greater wonder, and above all, colossal and minimum. Death Stranding can be confusing or understandable. It really depends how you want to approach this game and if you're willing to give it your time and take things slow. Just let it flow all in. When it comes all together, Uncharted 4 stands among the greats in the PlayStation 4's library. You'll ride an emotional roller coaster as Nate chooses between his family, his brother, his friends, his love, or constantly being behind a gunfire on the edge of the cliff. The epic moments bring certain death barely averted by quickly thinking and an extraordinary luck. Whether it's due to Nathan's luck by itself or his inhuman ability to survive the falls, bullet wounds, and generate infinite amount of stamina to climb cliffs without rest, Uncharted is full of its own mysteries outside of its narrative. The story alone brings out the fantastic writing and will compel you to play for hours on end, looking to find out what happens next. If you're willing to spend nights playing through the 25 to 30 hours title, then you're playing the right game. Hopefully you have enjoyed the Uncharted 4 as much as I did playing through and finally concluding Nathan's tale. Characters in the game felt like living, breathing people that you were adventuring with and against rather than feeling like a two-dimensional cutouts in a video game. The gameplay was varied enough so that it won't feel stale, and the challenges presented by the enemies were fair and gave you the chance to decide just how hard you wanted the adventure to be, both in setting the difficulty level and deciding the best method to kill or avoid the machines and enemies that you faced. One of the greatest feats of the video game engineering is always the ability to create a world that feels real and elicits real emotions when immersed in it. This game doesn't feel like a game at all. It feels like an alternative universe where you're really saving the world through the actions, thoughts, and feelings of a brave, sarcastic, empathetic, and beautiful red-headed Valkyrie. Any game that draws you in as deeply as this one does can only deserve the higher mark that I can give. Spider-Man games and a lot of other superhero games in general tends to be hit or miss. Obvious hits would include the Batman Arkham Knight series, while the last decent Spider-Man game I can remember was from the PlayStation 2. It can be hard to convey the feeling of being a superpowered being into a video game format that doesn't involve 1v1 fighting like the Marvel's vs. Capcom or the Injustice series. Insomniac, the developers behind the most recent iteration of the Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, has done a remarkable job with this game, making you feel like the webhead as you swing through Manhattan, fight street hoods, and take on Rogue's gallery of colorful villains. The web swinging, fighting, atmosphere, characters, and the main story are fantastic implementations of the Peter Parker's journey. I really think Insomniac hit it out the park with this game, and I cannot wait to see more with Miles Morales. Have been late to the Bloodborne party, but after spending some time with the game, I cannot unequivocally say that it is hands down one of the best PlayStation 4 exclusives to date. However, the game may not be for you. Bloodborne requires a certain acceptance of the frustration. You will die multiple times in this game, and you will have to be able to play with patience and carefulness. Even then, things may not go your way. If you're up for the challenge though, you will very much be in for a treat. This is an insta-pick as one of my favorite games ever, and I'm kicking myself for not getting into it sooner. And it's simply an absolute must for anyone with a PlayStation 4 and now on a PlayStation 5 with the PlayStation Plus collection, even if you think it seems a bit too intense for you. It has the best gameplay, the best level design, the best boss fights I've ever seen in a lot of the video games. I'm not even putting qualifiers on that. I cannot praise it any higher than I do. The story of the Ghost of Tsushima is entertaining, and there's a ton of interesting side missions to partake in. The combat system is deep and allows you for a fantastic amount of the customization. It doesn't hurt that this is hands down one of my most gorgeous PlayStation 4 games out there. Sure, there's some of the repetitive gameplay here due to the padding, just like any open world games I most likely have played, but ever since I started playing this game, I've just wanted to play more. That's the real sign of a good game. You just want to keep playing it. This is one heck of a game, and if you own a PlayStation 4 and enjoy action and open world games, you owe yourself to pick up this game if you want to feel like a true samurai. It's easy to view God of War from a distance as a beautiful, polished, big-budget title that hits all the major notes a great game should. And it does, but look closer and you'll realize that the big game made up of a bunch of little things done right. The voice acting and emotion captures is phenomenal, led by always amazing Christopher Judge. The writing and characterization is masterful. Traversing the world never feels like a chore, and every little piece of geography has a purpose. It's just such a meticulously crafted game and absolutely deserves all the accolades it received. Typically in video games, it feels like you have to choose between great storytelling and the great gameplay. Rarely do they ever come together in a complete package the way that they have it here. It's one of the best stories you'll ever see told in a game, and the most fun you will ever have playing one. Not only has God of War totally reinvented itself and breathed new life into the franchise that desperately needed it to, but it's completely redefined what a video game sequel can be. Like Kratos himself, God of War proves that a series doesn't have to be restrained by its past, but can break free of its shackles to grow and evolve into something better, something deeper. It is shot in the arm for the industries. It is a triumph of epic proportions, and it is, quite simply, a masterpiece of a highest order. Well, this is my list. Tell me down in the comments what other games you would have added or replaced, and the orders that you would have changed, or perhaps kept the same list for yourself. Okay, so now I do understand that at the end of all my special videos, I always constantly say to check out my Patreon and consider supporting me, but this time I wanted to make it a little bit more personal. Guys, I have Patreon. You can see these similar bigger scale videos on Patreon first up to 3 days earlier. So please do consider, at least checking it out, since they also provide additional rewards as well. Depending of course on what tier you wish to support me. The first tier already gives you an access to my development of the process into these special videos, and access to my special videos early as well. Second tier gives you an availability to get text shoutout in the end of my new special videos. And last tier is additional voice shoutout, personally thanking you for the support that you're providing to me. And on top of that, an opportunity to get an original special video of your own suggestion on any gaming topics. And for the reference, I actually have already done this for my loyal supporter Raven Star, since he wanted to see the future of Fallout. I will leave down links below in the description for you to check out that video as well. As you can see here, there are far more rewards that I did not go over, so I will leave you with a link to my Patreon if you wish to check it out, and perhaps, again, if you wish to support me. Raven Star, again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the continued support of my Patreon, I really do mean it. Since he actually pledged with the highest tier of $6.60 per month and consecutively supported me ever since. Thank you all for watching my special video. Like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.